It's the activated one, New Bright 10, the Futurtarian. First and foremost, I want to say peace of mind. Because without a peace of mind, then there is no peace. That's where the term comes from, peace of mind. There is no peace without a peace of mind. So if you're saying peace and you're still stuck in this hamster wheel illusion that you think that is reality, it really is just an illusion. So dealing with this 9.5 billion years behind in technology. See, this planet is not in the stage that it's supposed to be in because of the failure of our ancestors. They failed. Lost grip on this three-dimensional realm and lost grip on this planet. So while you go into religion, they're dealing with slavery, and like some of these Christians and these people that are Bible toters, they say, oh, the reason why we fail is because we stopped the laws of the Most High. The reason why this planet fell into the state of emergency that it's in is because the minds weren't right. They started to get tainted. The minds started to go on the hamster wheel. While other minds were extending and moving forward, our ancestors dropped the ball. But it's being picked back up. So that's why when you're dealing with the New Year's and all this stuff that deals with new, like I broke down in my other video, when you're dealing with the the NU, the un. The reason why they put the U in front of the N, because they were trying to undo the new. That's the reason why it's un. And you got numerology, new numerology. Why would they say new? Because they know who they got that from. That's why they say that. They got that from us. That's why they say numerology. Dealing with what's new. Dealing with what's next. So when you're dealing with this planet, is 9.5 billion years behind in technology. Why is that? When this planet was made, through the gases, the electrons, the electrodes, the meteorites, the metals, the elements, on the outskirts of the Milky Way, it was the time zone that it was made in. Because time is an illusion to ones that are tapped in. Ones that are tapped into the upper dimensions. Time can be reality also. But in order for time to be an illusion, you have to be not tapped into this three-dimensional realm and be receiving from the fourth dimension, going up. That's why everything on this planet is old. These computers, these nanos, this technology, these vehicles, these spaceships, these helicopters, these hard drive systems, these apps, all this stuff is old. You think it's new, but it's not new. It was next technology. 9.5 billion years old behind in technology. So when you're dealing with tech, knowledge, G. I'm not even finna break that word down. Some of this stuff I'm not even finna do on YouTube no more. But that's why this stuff is old. And the ones that are in the future, they look at this stuff as being old. Blasting off into space with the rockets. Stuff's old. Man, that stuff's so old, man. It's just, it doesn't move me. It doesn't move my ment. Meant for mental. That's why when you're dealing with the carbon coated beings, the ones that are in the future, all this stuff is old. Dealing with the plasma stage, the portals. When I broke down porting the intel, the portals. How many times are we going to keep hearing the same stuff over and over again? People saying the same stuff over and over and over again. The reason why the planet the way it is right now is because the ones that were given power, because power is not taken, it's given. Some people think that, these wars, went through all these wars, and, the so-called white man has took power. They didn't take power. They were just worthy to receive the power on the planet. They were worthy. They tapped in. Some of them were using some of the carbon-coated beings that they caught in slavery, manipulating the ones that were intelligent, because intelligence and smart are different. And I look at people on it online. I had one sister, she's like, I'm intelligent. I'm like, okay, if you're intelligent, that's fine, but you have to tell me something. That's where tell comes from. You have to tell me something that I've already received, that nobody on the planet has talked about, or something next that I haven't received that makes sense. Then you'll be intelligent. Because she was smart. She was very smart. But see, that's dealing with the intel. There's not a lot of people on this planet that's on the top that runs this whole planet. You have the 13 bloodlines. I'm going to break this down for you teachers, because it's intel. I'm not telling you guys everything. I'm kind of repeating myself. I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm on certain things. I'm kind of repeating myself, but it's majority of stuff that you can't Google. So it's stuff that I've already received intel that you still can't Google, because a lot of these videos, before I do it, I Google stuff. You know what pops up? No results, but it still makes sense though. That's intel. That's not dealing with information. Because once we start to grow mentally together, then you're going to see the intel expand. The planet move faster. Everything's going to be moving faster while we're moving the fastest. 9.5 billion years behind in technology. Now, the people that's running the planet right now, right, dealing with the 13 bloodlines. Now, the 13 bloodlines, this is another thing that you can't Google on Siri, Alexa, Google. The 13 bloodlines, right, in the future, they will be replaced. Because each bloodline, when you're dealing with the 13 bloodlines, it's like you got 13 lines in the flag of the United States of America. It's like that for a reason. That number represents something. What does that number represent? What does the 13 represent? The 13 represents 13 billion years. Right? So we're going into 14 billion years. So the 13 bloodlines will be 14. And who's going to be the next 14 bloodlines that run this planet? Because the one represents, that's why it's new, bright 10, the one and the zero. The one represents the quantum computer, the ones. And the 4 represents the 4th dimension, the 14 bloodlines. Those will be the future ones that will be running this planet and moving forward into the future. That's why I said it's 9.5 billion years old, because that's the 9 in the 0.5, which is the 9 represents the billion years. That's only 9 stripes in a flag. But there's 13 for a reason, because, like I said before, because each bloodline represents a billion years. So now you have to get ready for the 14th billion year. So then you're going to have 14 bloodlines. And that's where we're going to. The stage of evolution. That's why this technology is old. Looking on the internet, looking at certain technical machines that just look old. Look old like that for a reason to certain ones on the planet. Why? Because we're in the future. Trying to travel through the galaxy, or trying to travel through the universe using elements that are not tapped into the electrical surge, not tapped into the plasma, being bound on Earth and being bound in the solar system for a reason. Everybody's not worthy of going through a portal. Everybody's not going to be worthy of going through a portal. That's why there's limitations. That's why it's the way it is right now in this 3-dimensional realm on dealing with this information. Information has to be pushed. It has to be. You got to give somebody, you got to give these teachers and these students a sense. It's information. You know what information is going to become? Information is going to become religion. That's what information is going to be. If you know what, I'm going to do a video on that, on information becoming religion. That's what it's going to be. Because it gives people a sense of hope and a sense of extending their minds when they're not going nowhere, dealing with the information. It's a stepping stone, because in order to get the intel, you're going to have to go through certain ones. There's only the next bloodlines is going to be the 14 bloodlines are going to be running this planet. Either you're going to be a part of that, or you're going to be reincarnated back as a slave. What is a slave? A slave is also somebody who goes to work, are content with their life, and they just want to just exist and not extend into the future. The reason why is because they're not in the future. At one point in the future, they fade away into nothing. And I'm going to do a video on that. The age of information is going to be the next age of religion. Because we're moving into a different dimension. And a lot of people ain't going to make the cut. Dealing with these spirits in the spiritual realm. Give you a little story about when I used to encounter spirits when I was black, when I had a black mentality. I used to encounter spirits all the time. This is a true story. I'm gonna give y'all some stuff that happened in my life before I went from religion, woke, conscious to activated. This is a true story. There was a so-called white dude. Me and this chick, we used to live downtown St. Paul. Building was just made. It was called the Dakotas. And there was a guy that lived next door. And for some reason, I used to always just think that this guy that lived next door to us was always listening to us because the kitchens were both on the same wall. So I just had a feeling like he was just listening. He was weird. Like, his eyes used to twitch. Like his left eye used to move real fast. Like when he would talk to you, his left eye would just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I'm like, I told my girlfriend at the time, I told her, I said, man, this dude's kind of weird, right? So her parents was coming over. Her parents came over. And I called him in the hallway. And we were sitting there cooking. Her parents was over. I told him, he was our neighbor. So I said, you know what? I said, you can come over, have some food. We're cooking. We're chilling. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'm like, yeah, cool. Just, knock on the door, open it, whatever. Right. Let me give you an example of this dude. Now, this was about 17 years ago. He was a Caucasian dude. He was bald headed. He was shaved bald, clean cut, face shaved, hair shaved. He had glasses on. And like I said, his left eye used to twitch back and forth real fast. So he comes up in there and her mother was talking with him at the kitchen. And he told us the story. He goes, well, I just got out of jail. And we're like, okay, what you get out of jail for? He tells her mom that he just got out of jail for terroristic threats to the president. So he did 20 years. Whoever the president was 20 years ago, he called the White House and threatened the president. So they locked him up for 20 years for that, terroristic threats to the president. So I already knew he was crazy then. I already knew that his mind was not on a balance, at least that. His mind wasn't even on at least that. So then, that night was over with, and we're talking about it. I'm like, that was weird. So I went to go visit my son, my oldest son. He's 21 now, but he lives out in Connecticut on the East Coast. He lives out on the East Coast, been living there since he was 3 years old. So I go visit him for about 2 weeks, go visit my son out on the East Coast. And she called me and she was like, yeah, she's like, Harold. His name was Harold. Harold just tried to come over. I told him that you was gone busy. He was just trying to get in the door. I said, don't open that door for him. I said, just let him be. Leave him alone, right? So I get back from the East Coast. I'm trying to make this story quick as possible. I get back from the East Coast. We're sitting there. I'm watching. No, she goes out. You got to understand, it's 17 years ago. It was between 15 and 17 years ago. She goes out to the club with her friend. She's like, you don't want to come with me? I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to sit here and watch a movie. So I was watching that movie Underworld. If you know about the Underworld, it's about the Lycans, the vampires. I was into that stuff real big back in the day. So I'm watching that movie. I got all the lights off. Now, this is a true story. I got all the lights off. Right? Harold's wall was facing the TV. Was on the same wall as the TV, as my TV was on. I'm watching the movie. The whole room got cold. And it's pitch black. I'm like, damn, it's cold in here. So for some reason, then I started to get goosebumps. I look at Harold's wall, which was on the right-hand side. I seen 3 silhouettes looking into the apartment. But their heads were sticking out the wall. You can only see their chest and their heads and their neck. Everything else was like on the other side of the wall. So I looked and I'm like, I don't see that. I looked again. Boom, I got up, turned the lights on. I'm like, man, am I tripping? Because at that time, I was smoking a lot of weed too. I was smoking a lot of marijuana. So I'm like, maybe I'm just high tripping, right? So about a couple of months later, we wake up. Me and my girlfriend at the time, we wake up. I look out the window. Uh, I see a female police officer, because remind you, we're on the 4th floor of these apartment buildings. That's downtown St. Paul, Minnesota. And I'm just playing around with her. I said, oh, because I seen yellow tape. So when I saw the yellow tape, I was playing around with my girlfriend. I said, oh shoot. I said, somebody got killed last night. Somebody got popped, making a joke about it, right? After I said that, it was a flashlight knock at the door. I'm like, that's the police. And at this time, we already had rolled up. We already had fired up a blunt. We were smoking a blunt. So I'm like, I'm not opening up that door. I said, it smells like weed in here. But we didn't have nothing else on us. We had like 2 sacks of weed or something on us, 2 sacks of marijuana on us. So I'm like, I'm not opening up this door. When I get to the peephole, the police officer says, hey, look, we're not worried about the marijuana smoke. It's a community issue. We need to talk to you. Can you please open the door? So I'm like, you know what? I'm like, fuck it. I'll open the door. Put the weed out. I'll open the door. He's like, yeah, your neighbor Harold? I'm like, yeah. He's like, he's dead. I'm like, he's dead. I'm like, and then I remembered the police officer, the female police officer sitting there with the yellow tape. So then I go back to the window. He's like, hey, it's pretty graphic. I don't want you to go, I'm just letting you know. So when I looked out the window, because we was on the 4th floor, I didn't get on my tippy toes and like really look out the window. When I did, I seen Harold. He was sitting there, a puddle of blood about 4 feet on each side of his head. He had a white t-shirt on, white socks, white boxers, brand new, brand spanking new, no glasses on, right? Jumped out the window and killed himself. So the police goes, you guys didn't hear anything last night, this and that. We're like, we didn't hear nothing. We didn't see nothing. We didn't hear nothing. So then the police officer was like, okay, because we think it's a suicide. So we're just trying to make sure it wasn't a homicide. And we're like, no, we didn't hear nothing, this and that. So this is the whole point I'm making. When she had went out to the club that night, I never told her I seen those 3 spirits coming out his wall. I never told her that. Right. But then when that happened, I told her, I said, yeah, remember that night you went out to the club, this and that? I said, I was watching Underworld. I said, I seen 3 spirits in his wall that same night. And she was like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, I'm not finna tell nobody no stuff like that, because I'm not really, no person where, when stuff like that happens, I just keep it to myself, really. When something like that happens. But the whole point that I'm saying this is those spirits that was messing with him, right? They knew that because he was off a whole bunch of medication. They knew he was vulnerable. So when they looked into our apartment building and they seen me, they knew I wasn't going. They couldn't manipulate me. They was looking at what they was looking at? They was looking at futuristic solar intelligence. They ain't even the solar intelligence, even back in the day when at that time, I wasn't even woke. I wasn't even at woke stage, but they just felt that aura already. That's why they never came fully into the apartment. They stuck their chest, their neck, and their head out. They didn't bring their whole body in there. They were just seeing who was around, who else they could try to manipulate. They knew it wasn't me. Knew I wasn't going. But I just had to tell that story dealing with the spirit realm. That's why it's always been about the soul. It's always been about solar intelligence, the soul. So dealing with the next 14 bloodlines. It has to happen. It's going to happen. This planet is so behind in technology, it's ridiculous. But it's like that for a reason. It is a stepping stone to evolution. A stepping stone to evolution. Like I said before, the numerology, right? You got all these words that start with new. New years, newborns. It's like that for a reason. For a reason. In 2021, we're going to take off. Like in the movie The Matrix. Remember in the movie The Matrix, who did you have? You had Morpheus. You had Morpheus. And then who came after Morpheus? Was Neo. Neo came after Morpheus because it was a dual energy process. That's what this realm works off of, dual energy. So then Morpheus had to go find Neo to what? Save the computer realm, the cyberverse. Dealing with the movie The Matrix. Who's Neo? $9.5 billion years old behind in technology. And when you're dealing with the 13, right, the 13 billion years, the reason why is because the 13 is how far they can see into the universe. It's 13 billion years. And that's dealing with light years, which is big. Light years are long. Be prepared for the 14 bloodlines. It's the activated one. New Brighton and Futurtarian. Peace, Quasar. If you like the way the world is, don't like, don't share, don't subscribe. I want to say peace of mind to the universe.